Welcome to Walnut Creek Cert. The following video was recorded on March the 26th of 2022. Please join us in progress as our presenters demonstrate how Walnut Creek Cert will use Winlink for messaging between area command posts and the City of Walnut Creek's Emergency Operations Center, or EOC.
Really just to show you the hardware, how it goes together. And we think that it's easy to set up. We set up this morning, including the pop-up and everything else, which you'll see in a minute within half an hour. But of course, we practiced last weekend, so we've done it once already. Training on Winlink will be coming up. Dates still to be determined. So that's where we are. I'm going to show you one more chart, and then I'm going to turn it over to John Trenchrew, who's done yeoman's work on all this. And Mark Peters is here, is going to act as our camera. As I have the slides up, I want to show you this now. There is a laptop that runs all this. We bought laptops for each of the caches. We have loaded software on it. So what you will get when you get the laptop in your cache is it'll have Adobe on it. It will have Libra Office. We did not want to pay for a Microsoft Office account or 365 and have to update it every year. But within Libra Office, it has all the software that we might want to use, all compatible with Word. So we have Writer, Calc, which works Excel, Impress, Raw, which is actually Visio, a bunch of other things. We haven't loaded it yet, but we will provide PDF maps of all the command post areas. We have the manuals for the radio. We'll have setup documentation, Winlink documentation, all the call signs you'll need, some digital plans, and then of course what you need to run the system. So that will all be on the machine. We are going to put new software on. You'll have to talk to one of us to get administrative access. We want to make sure we have reasonable control of the software on the machine so we don't have a problem going down. So that's where we are. I'm going to turn this over to John.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you.
Yep. All right. What you're looking at is Don's portable camera showing the setup in a pop-up cache, we took from the Sugarloaf cache. The blue box directly in front of me, right here, is the solar, what we call a solar generator. It's a Blue Eddy. It provides both AC and DC. It is charged from the solar panel that Mark has got there that he's showing you. Those are 4 solar arrays, and they're on a prototype rack that I built, which is admittedly over-engineered. And so this is one of the things that we would like you folks to think about redesigning with us, is how we would make this work a little bit better. We want to keep it up off the ground and out of any moisture. But the nice thing about this is this will power, the combination of these two will power the radio and the laptop for a 10-hour shift easily. So we are basically completely independent with this gear. We also have an Elinco radio, which is back here, and I'm lifting it up right now. This is a 50-watt mobile rig that is only $150, and we are running it at half power, or about 20 watts, and connecting just fine. And I have a laptop in my highly sophisticated SunShield, which is a cardboard box, and we are working on a SunShield, which you do need if you're outside, particularly if you have old eyes like I do. So basically you have a computer, the solar generator for power, solar to keep everything charged, the radio, and a little digital sound card, which Mark is holding up right there. So all of these are all of this equipment was set up. There's one set of these for each cache. And we also have a similar setup at Public Works without the solar. The solar and the Blue Eddy are basically only for the command posts. And that's because the other locations have standby power and a more robust arrangement as far as permanent setups are concerned. So, oh yeah, we have a Slim Jim antenna, which Mark is going to move. And basically this is a simple, flexible ladder line antenna sitting on top of a piece of PVC, and it's lashed to one of the poles of the pop-up with a shock cord. So all of this is very, very quick to set up and very easy to work with. We don't have a lot of complex antenna systems with this. Okay, you can pull that back down. All righty. So what we're going to do now is ask Don to turn off that camera, and I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to basically show you a couple of things that we can do with this. Okay, so what we have on here on the left-hand side is we have Libra Office. This is the office automation program that Don was talking about. This is completely compatible with Microsoft Word, and the advantage to it is that it's free. So you have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Visio, and if you get into serious things like doing math equations, you can even do them with this. So this is totally compatible with Word documents and everything else that I have written and saved. We also have for you, let's see, I need to get this bar out of my way. We also have Adobe Acrobat for any kind of Adobe files. Now, obviously, these are the free ones that don't require subscriptions, and that was really important. So I'm going to start off with basically Winlink Express is right down here, the checkerboard icon. I'll come back to that in just a second. So this is now using this free Libra Express, and this is a PowerPoint presentation, and we're going to show you a couple of things, and then we're going to dive right into it. So this is all about the Winlink demo, what you can do with it. These are the big goals. We want to eliminate duplicate manual processes in the field and in Zero, and maximize people power when we don't have a lot of folks. We want to speed up the message flows of Cert situational awareness for the EOC. We want to use recognizable names. This is a ham radio system, but we want to use recognizable names when we send messages. So let's do a slight detour into that and show you how we're going to do it. So basically, KK6BSN is the call sign for the Walnut Creek Shams organization. It's our club call sign. So what we did was we assigned a call sign down this column with each one of the site names. But all you have to worry about is your familiar names, and let us do the magic behind the screen. So for Tice Valley, their call sign is KK6BSN-8. The only time you have to worry about this is when you first turn on the computer and you pick your site. And from then on, you don't have to worry about it. So Tice Valley is KK6BSN-8. So this is done in Winlink Express. When you first log in at the top left corner, there's a little down arrow right there. And then you come down and you pick the site. All of these laptops are configured identically. So any laptop can serve any site. We didn't customize them to each individual command post. It made it a lot easier for us. But rather than look at this in PowerPoint, let's do the real thing. We're going to use Tice Valley as the example in this presentation. So I'm simply going to minimize my, I'm going to attempt to minimize this. Then we can go into the checkerboard, which is Winlink Express. I already have it running, so I will pick it up right here. And this is the desktop that you will see. And you notice up here at the very top is KK6BSN-8. That is Tice Valley. But you can see I have a choice of a lot of them. We have 15 locations on this system, and I can pick any one. What you have is a normal list of inboxes and outboxes, sent items, and so forth, the way you would have in any other mailer. You also have contacts for messages, and you notice that these are in English, which makes it a lot easier to send messages. You do not have to remember other people's call signs other than your own to get to the right location. So let's do something real simple. Up here on message, let's send a new message, and you get up and you notice this says Tice. And that's because we use the tactical call sign. There's the 8 hiding behind it, but let's send it as Tice because people can recognize that's Tice. And to address a message, you merely click the to button and there's your contact list. So if I want to send a message to the Cert Liaison, I merely double click. And I can fill in a subject and so forth. But I want to show you the templates that will make this work. I'm only going to show you one. The rest of this we're going to do in the very detailed class. This is a Cert 213, and we are going to show you exactly how, let's see, Microsoft Edge. All right, we can use Microsoft Edge. So here is a Cert 213. And what I can do is put in an incident name. So Winlink, you get to watch my test. You get to watch my typing skills. This is Winlink testing. And you notice I have an automatic message number that's based on the command post here. This automatically increments, and every message that Tice sends, the next one would be Tice Walnut Creek Cert, which is a WCC-12. This is different than the manual method where the terminating end assigns message numbers. Here, the originating end does it, and since all the command posts are different, every one is distinct and separate. So I'm going to send this to Don, and I'm going to send it from John T. And the subject can be Winlink test. You have an automatic date and time where all you have to do is click on the dates and the times. And this is White Cliff Court. All right, this is approved by, and I've always done this traditionally, someone important. If we were in the command post, this would be the team leader or the incident commander that would approve everything going to the city. So basically, we submit it now at this point. We're going to say, okay. And there's my message that I just sent. This is all that gets transmitted, is this little dab of text. So we are sending it to the liaison. And you notice that in the subject of the message, I've managed to cram the message number, the message precedence, and part of the subject of the message. On that 213, and I'm sorry I didn't show it to you at the time, we can have an emergency, a priority, or a routine precedence. And this way it shows up in the inbox and people can identify it very quickly. Now, we're all through with this. I'm going to put it in the outbox. Winlink has a very, very nice thing where every message has a message ID for traceability. So if I look in the outbox, there's my message waiting to be sent. And it has a very fancy message ID associated with it. Can you remember MFG04? This will come up in a second. So I want to send this to the Cert Liaison. And the way we do that is with a session. You are only going to be using VARA FM, which is a very high-speed data transmission on VHF. You simply open the session, and then we are going to go to my gateway in this particular case. I'll explain that in a second. We're going to connect. You're now sending this email over the radio, if this all works correctly. And K901R is not, oh, which frequency am I on? Hang on one second. We discovered that the City Hall system failed this morning and didn't tell us about it. Give me one quick second. Nothing more convincing than a rig demo here, guys. All right, let's try this again. And there we go. Okay, so this is connecting and we'll send it over Winlink. And that message is basically done right now. And you notice that it tells you what message is queuing up. There's that MFG04. Now it's sending the message. It was in the outbox. And if anything goes wrong with the transmission, it will stay in your outbox. So now that message has been sent. And if I look at sent items up here, I'm going to see there's MFG04, GQ4. It was actually sent to Tice. So you have a proof at both ends that the message was queued up, actually in the process of sending, and actually sent. So now I have managed to send that message to the Cert Liaison. And one of the tricks about these laptops is since they're all programmed the same, I can become the Cert Liaison and retrieve it and show you how it would work when Don picks it up wherever he is. So we know that KK6BSN8 is Tice. The Liaison is 14. So we will change this. Oh, while a session is running. Okay, quick second. Stop this. Okay, I'm done with that session. Now I'm going to become another user. In this case, I'm going to become Don as the liaison. And all I'm going to do is see if I have any email. So we do a start. Change this call sign. Start this and see if we can get our message from that I sent from Tice. Okay, that works better. And you notice here, I have become the Cert Liaison. Now I'm going to get a message back. And it's the one that sent from Tice. When you see this say disconnected down here, we simply exit this. We look at our inbox. And I have a message that ends in MFG04 from Liaison. So I have successfully sent a message from Tice and then retrieved it as the Cert Liaison. So basically, that is how we would propose to send things back and forth. The other thing that I do want to show you briefly is we spend a lot of time doing message logs at both ends. What we can do with this is you can create a message log automatically simply by pushing a button. And all I have to do is pick an output file name, and I will put this on the desktop so we can see it. It's an ICS 309, and I will simply generate it. What we actually enables us to do is to do message logging at both ends. And here's all the messages, date and time, the name of the person, the name of the group that sent it, and where it went. So this one went in from Tice to the liaison, and it was a routine message and so forth. And you can see up here, I did some testing, and here's an emergency message, a priority, and a routine. This would allow you to concentrate by looking in your inbox as to handle all of the emergency messages first. This is,
Any questions or suggestions?
all right, now the question we would ask you is, are there any questions or suggestions as to what you would like to see changed or different in this? I will be doing a T3 or train the trainer class on Winlink where we will go into this in a lot more detail. And the goal would be for those who come to the class to then take that learning back and work with their command posts to get them up to speed on Winlink. Couple other key points. This is a standalone Winlink system. We do not connect to or rely on the internet anywhere, including at City Hall. And I'm going to recommend you don't connect your Cert laptop to an external internet, whether wireless or wired. The reason is you may update programs that the other laptops then are not compatible with. This needs to be a controlled system where we have someone coming out to update only when necessary. It's a closed system, so you cannot email out to an outside Gmail or Yahoo account. Likewise, no one can email in and jam it or send you viruses or anything else. The frequency we use is 145.070, and that is for the City Hall RMS. It's not part of the Cert band plan. And so we'll give you full instructions on how to set up the radios.
So the radios will be set up.
Yeah, the radios are
and-
set up.
and
They,
locked down and
Yeah.
and locked, so you just have to turn them on.
and they remember what mode and frequency they're in when they're powered off, which is kind of empowered back on. The solar system is sized to charge the laptop and operate the radio. That's specifically why it was chosen. And we'll ask you, you're going to share this with your peers and the other command posts. There'll be about 8 of you online at one time. And the final thing is Winlink will not tell you you have mail. If you want to know if you have mail, you open up a session and check it.
So right now, the solar is charging with this sunshine, it's charging at about 50 watts,
Mhm.
which is enough to run everything.
Which is enough to run everything.
We have
So,
some comments and
Go
questions.
ahead.
We have some comments and questions.
Please go ahead.
Great.
Okay, so first question, can the solar panel add power to the Blue 80 battery while it's supplying power to the radio and the laptop?
It's doing it right now.
Okay, awesome. Comment, this is an optimal weather setup. So how does this charge on a stormy night when the solar panel will not work?
Through the generator, through a 12-volt battery, through any other source of power that you have in your cache. You could even put jumper cables from your car.
Well, cigarette lighter, doesn't it?
Cigarette lighter plug in your car, it'll charge.
Okay, and the question, in the PDF log, perhaps show routine instead of sender first, so can quickly scan for message priority. That's great.
That would be an implementation level decision. You're welcome to send those notes to Don and Margaret, and I'll be happy to make changes once you guys reach consensus on what you want.
So those are the kind of questions we want you to send us, and we'll work on it. That's why we're doing this today.
Can we have an instruction packet, for example, pages in this presentation at each cache for use in this system?
We will provide that. We'll figure out what needs to be provided at the T3 class, but the real key point is, you folks, this is a tool that is used worldwide. How it's going to be used in Cert is going to be up to the Cert folks to decide what local documentation they need in the caches.
So it's done. Our plan is to have essentially a single page that's laminated or something that'll show a quick setup and how to run it. So, and then the rest of the documentation will be on the laptop.
Okay, good. And then a question about how long will the solar battery power the system after dark?
I ran my gateway at home on the Blue Eddy for 10 hours, and I was down to 40% at the point when I stopped the test.
Of course, that depends on how much it's used over in the evening.
Depends how
if
much this used.
If it's a lot of transmissions, it probably won't last as long.
Correct.
How likely would it be that there would, since the system is exclusively for the command post to the EOC, how likely would it be that there would be a significant amount of transmissions?
At night, yeah, that would
Don't
be
know.
correct. We don't know. You've never done an all-night thing before. We have no way of knowing.
Well, we haven't had an emergency either, so.
And how long are the messages saved?
The messages are saved. They are not deleted, period, would be the fast answer.
You have to delete them manually.
Yeah, you actually have to go in and manually delete them.
Okay, couple questions, couple other things. Let's see, how do updated revisions of manuals get to each command post as an attachment via Winlink?
You probably not. We cannot send huge attachments on Winlink. What would probably happen, and this is the recommendation of a system admin role right here, you bring out a USB key and update whatever you need to do.
We will need some type of 1 or 2 people act as system administrators. There's not a lot of work there, but we clearly need that.
That's a really good example of it right there, is updated documentation. And the other thing is, my role in this going forward is that I'm going to support the T3 class members. When they have questions they can't figure out, come to me on the Winlink basis. But your process flow updates, your command post changes,
That's up to.
that's up to Cert.
We'll probably handle that through the shams.
And so there's another good comment. Might need procedure for switching to analog radio transmission when Winlink is down.
You have that process now. It's called Zero. You have that process now.
Right. So we didn't make it clear, but there will still be a serial operator at City Hall. We always will have audio analog or audio backup for all these systems. So this is if this is up and running, it's just less for the serial operator to handle. But the serial operator will be there at City Hall to handle. You know, if somebody's laptop doesn't come in or they spill coffee all over it or something like that, we'll still have the backup.
When in doubt and this does not work, you go back to paper, and you already have that process down.
Okay, that's it for the chat so far.
Okay, are there any, we talked a little bit about documentation. We have, as it's developed by Cert, we will then send it out by USB, by SneakerNet, out to all of the command posts and update the laptops. If you want printed documentation, get a consensus on what you want for setup or for, there's a very exhaustive setup for the yellow box. This is pretty straightforward. The Bluetti has 3 connections to it, one AC going to the laptop charger, a DC cigarette lighter plug going to the radio, and a 2-pin solar connector. They can only go in one place on the face of the Bluetti. So it's a fairly simple system, deliberately set up to where there's not a lot of confusion and qualms. I'm operating with the laptop in a cardboard box because I needed a sun shield. And that's something that you folks may want to think about going forward as well.
Couple items, JT.
Go ahead.
So a follow-up on the analog question. The person was thinking of, do you attempt to integrate the message log between digital and analog transmissions?
No.
Just reinforcing that there are going to be two
that would
logs.
be,
We'll have to think about how to do that.
I don't know that you could do that. One of the things that we talked about in previous presentations was the concept of emergency messages take the analog route. And you think about this honestly, is if somebody's house is on fire, you're not going to send an email to the EOC. You're going to get on your radio and say, my neighbor's house is on fire. So that's an emergency basis. This is really intended for the very tedious routine stuff that's hard to send manually because there's too much data, or sending small pictures or spreadsheets or reports or whatever.
So I believe that the radio log can be exported as an Excel file, essentially.
Yes.
So you could certainly manually add things to that Excel file and create a single file.
That would be a tedious approach, but you could do that.
We could do it.
You could do it.
And so then the other follow-up there
Good
is,
question. We'll have to think about it.
yeah, another example is, should we continue trying to send digital message in addition to the same message sent analog? So I think you've just been talking about that.
Well, you probably want to think about how much of a load you would put on plans by trying to duplicate messages digitally and analog. That's something that you'll have to decide how much of this you want to duplicate.
Yeah, our current thinking is that for an emergency, as John said, we will send it out immediately by analog. And there's twofold. One is if you send it, you want to make sure an emergency, you want to make sure it got there. So you'll get an immediate confirmation by voice. And our plan is then to, at least on an emergency message, then to send a Winlink also so it's documented. That's the only time I can think of that you would want to duplicate messages. But that's why we want to talk to you. And we'll talk to the operations folks too, the committee, to see what suggestions they have.
So another question is, how's the Blue Eddy going to get charged? Is somebody going to take it home?
The Blue Eddy had been at Don's house for a week uncharged, and we simply plugged it back into the solar, and it had 60% when we started this morning. It's now at 100%. So it does not take long to charge.
But the answer to the question is somebody is going to have to charge it.
So we already have a little bit of maintenance that we should be doing on our radios and batteries. There is no question that this system is going to require more maintenance than we've had in the past. It's just the way it is.
Same thing with generators too.
Right. Generators, have gasoline and they should be run periodically. So there's a bunch of things that would just, as we start to stand up again after the pandemic, we're going to have to go see what's working and what's not. Okay, so Margaret and I are going to be working on the process and all the other questions. So please send everything in to us, and we will listen to everything. And there's always good ideas out there that we hadn't thought of.
Thank you all very much.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.